Ladies and gentlemen, in this vast world, we often find ourselves drawn to the rhythm of companionship, the bonds we form with others to make sense of the chaos. Yet there are some who choose or are chosen by a different path. We walk alone not out of arrogance or indifference, but because life has written a story of solitude in their stars. Tonight, I want to speak to you about such a figure, a woman who walks alone with no friends. This isn't a lamentation or a plea for pity. It's a celebration of resilience, the beauty of inner strength, and the quiet power of individuality will unravel her journey, the lesson she teaches us, and the world she sees from her solitary perspective. And perhaps in her story, we'll find something profound about our own. Let me walk you through 8 keynotes of this extraordinary tale. Solitude is often misunderstood. For some, it's a prison. For others, a sanctuary. This woman walking alone embodies both sides of this coin. She didn't set out to be a loner. Life handed her cards. She learned to play with dignity, whether through heartbreak, betrayal, or simply the tides of time. Her solitude became both her choice and her circumstance. Picture her walking down a quiet street, her shadow her only companion. The world assumes her silence is sorrow, but she walks not with a bowed head, but with a quiet pride. She knows her worth, and though her path lacks the chatter of friends, it overflows with self-awareness. She teaches us that being alone doesn't mean, being lonely. It's an opportunity to rediscover who we are without the noise of others. The world often pressures us to measure worth through connections and networks, but she defies this notion. Her path is carved by independence, not isolation. She has no entourage to validate her presence, no constant applause to fuel her confidence. Instead, she carries her strength within. It's a lesson in resilience, an invitation to embrace solitude as a space for growth. This isn't to say her journey is free of struggle. There are nights when silence weighs heavier than words, when she wishes for the comfort of shared laughter or a shoulder to lean on. Yet even in those moments, she rises not because she wants to, but because she must. She understands that life doesn't pause for sorrow. Her perseverance is a quiet rebellion against the world's expectations. This story reminds us that solitude is a spectrum. For some, it's a temporary refuge. For others, a permanent residence. Yet in both, there is a space for reflection and strength. She walks this line gracefully, balancing her need for solitude with her yearning for connection. In her journey, she teaches us that walking alone isn't a flaw. It's a facet of the human experience. Through eyes, solitude isn't a void, but a canvas. Each step she takes paints a new picture of self-reliance and introspection. And as she moves forward, she invites us to reconsider our fear of being alone, to see it not as a burden, but as an opportunity to meet ourselves anew. Strength isn't always loud or flamboyant. Sometimes it's found in the quiet resolve to keep going. This woman who walks alone carries her vulnerability not as a weakness, but as a badge of honor. Her strength lies in her ability to embrace her flaws, her fears, and her past without shame. There's something deeply human about being vulnerable. It connects us, not through triumph, but through shared imperfection. She knows this, even if her journey doesn't include a crowd to share it with. Her strength isn't in hiding her scars, but in showing them without apology. Each scar tells a story not of defeat, but of survival. When the world tries to harden us, she chooses to remain open. It's a paradoxical kind of bravery to be unguarded in a guarded world. She walks through life with her heart exposed, not because she doesn't fear being hurt, but because she refuses to let fear dictate her choices. In doing so, she teaches us that Vulnerability is a form of power. Or solitude amplifies this vulnerability. Without friends to lean on, she faces her struggles head on. She has no one to shield her from the storm, no one to deflect the harsh winds of life. Yet she stands tall. Her resilience, a quiet testament to her courage. Vulnerability doesn't break her, it builds her. There's a certain poetry to her strength. It's not the kind you read about in books or see in movies. It's the strength of persistence, the kind that gets up every morning and takes another step even when the world feels heavy. Her vulnerability doesn't make her fragile, it makes her real. She reminds us that strength isn't the absence of fear or pain. It's the willingness to face them, to walk through them, and to emerge on the other side. Her journey is a mirror reflecting our own struggles and triumphs. In her vulnerability, we see our own strength. The world isn't always kind to those who walk alone. Society is quick to judge, to label, to assume. For this woman, every step is an act of defiance against a world that often misunderstands her. She walks not to prove them wrong, but to stay true to herself. People often misinterpret solitude as sadness, independence, as arrogance. She faces these misconceptions daily. The whispers, the pitying glances, the unsolicited advice, all reminders that she doesn't let these judgments define her. Um, Her worth isn't tied to their approval. Her resilience in the face of misunderstanding is remarkable. She doesn't shout to be heard or argue to be understood. Instead, she lets her actions speak. Her kindness, her integrity, her quiet confidence, all are answers to the world's misconceptions. She knows who she is, and that's enough. This isn't to say it's easy. There are moments when the weight of judgment feels unbearable, but she carries on not out of stubbornness, but out of a deep sense of self-respect. She refuses to let the world's opinions shape her identity. Her journey is her own. She walks it unapologetically. Every story is a reminder that the world doesn't always see us for who we are. It's easy to be misunderstood, especially when you walk a path less traveled. But like here, we can choose to stay true to ourselves, even when the world doesn't understand. Through her journey, we learn that being misunderstood isn't the end of the world. It's a chance to redefine ourselves, to show the world who we are on our own terms. And in doing so, we find a strength that no judgment can shake. Self-reliance is a skill that few master, but for the woman who walks alone, it is a cornerstone of her existence. In a world that often prioritizes connections, partnerships, and social validation, she has cultivated a life where she depends solely on her own strength. Her independence is not born out of a desire to reject others, but from the necessity to stand on her own when no one else could or would. Every step she takes is a declaration of her ability to endure. She doesn't have the luxury of leaning on others during times of difficulty, and because of this, she has learned to solve her own problem. Whether it's navigating the complexities of life's practical challenges or facing the emotional storms that come with being human, she rises to meet these moments with a quiet resolve. Her self-reliance is not a rejection of vulnerability, but a testament to her capability. She understands that self-reliance does not mean isolation. It's about developing trust in oneself, knowing that even in the absence of external support, she's enough. There's no audience applauding her small victories, no chorus of friends cheering her on. Yet she celebrates every milestone quietly because her accomplishments are hers alone, untouched by the influence or validation of others. Her journey highlights the beauty of personal growth. She has the time and space to cultivate skills, explore her passions, and deepen her understanding of herself. Self-reliance allows her to move through the world with a sense of confidence that is rare and precious. She doesn't need others to complete her. She's already whole. Of course, there are moments when the weight of self-reliance feels heavy. Even the strongest among us long for a hand to hold or a voice to reassure. Yet she carries this burden with grace, understanding that the strength she's built over time will see her through. True resilience is a quiet, unshakable force. Through her story, we learn that self-reliance is not about rejecting others, but about building a solid foundation within ourselves. It's about walking through life with the knowledge that we can face whatever comes our way. Not because it's easy, but because we've prepared ourselves for the challenge. She inspires us to trust in our own capabilities and find strength within. Every journey has its challenges, and for the woman who walks alone, those challenges are magnified by her solitude. She doesn't have the luxury of sharing her burdens or dividing the weight of her struggles. Her journey, though powerful, is not without its darker moments. She and her others are filled with quiet determination, but her nights often bring the ache of loneliness. There are times when the silence feels oppressive, when the absence of companionship becomes a void that is difficult to ignore. Yet, even in these moments, she finds ways to press on. She teaches us that struggles, while painful, are a natural part of growth. One of her greatest battles is the fight against self-doubt. Without friends or loved ones to offer reassurance, she must be her own cheerleader. There are days when her confidence falters, when she questions her worth or the path she's chosen, but she has learned to confront these doubts head on, finding strength in her ability to persevere. Societal pressure to conform adds another layer of difficulty in a world that often equates social connections with happiness. She faces judgment and pity from those who don't understand her journey. Yet she resists the urge to explain herself or seek validation. Her path is hers alone, and she walks it with unyielding courage. Despite the challenges, her struggles also bring clarity. Facing adversity alone, she has developed a deep understanding of her own resilience. She knows that struggles are not a sign of weakness, but an opportunity to grow stronger. Her hardships have shaped her into someone who can face life's uncertainties with grace. This story reminds us that solitude is not a shield against pain. If anything, it often amplifies the challenges we face. Yet it is through these struggles that we find our true strength. She shows us that even in the darkest moments, there is light to be found within ourselves. Walking alone grants her a unique perspective on life. She is not caught up in the distractions of constant conversation or the demands of maintaining relationships. Instead, she moves through the world as an observer, taking in its beauty and complexity with a quiet appreciation. Her solitude allows her to notice the details others might overlook, the way sunlight filters through the trees, the rhythm of footsteps on a busy street, the unspoken emotions in a stranger's eyes. She sees the world in its raw, unfiltered form, and in doing so, she finds a beauty that many miss. Her perspective is a reminder that there is value in slowing down, simply observing, and peace without the constant chatter of others. She has the space to reflect on her own thoughts and emotions. Her mind is a canvas where she paints ideas, questions, and dreams. She is deeply in tune with herself and the world around her, finding meaning in moments that might seem mundane to others. Her life is enriched by this introspection. Her role as an observer doesn't make her passive. She engages with the world in her own way, contributing not through loud declarations, but through quiet acts of kindness and understanding. Her solitude allows her to see what others miss, and she uses this insight to connect with the world on a deeper level. There's a certain freedom in her position. She is not bound by the expectations or judgments of others. She moves through life on her own terms, finding joy in the simple act of being present. Her journey is a reminder that there is beauty in the small, quiet moments of life. Through her eyes, we see the value of stepping back and taking in the world without distraction. Her story encourages us to slow down, to observe, and to find joy in the details. She shows us that even in solitude, life is rich and full of wonder. For many, success and happiness are tied to external factors, career achievements, social connections, material possessions. But for the woman who walks alone, these definitions don't apply. Her solitude has forced her to redefine what it means to live a fulfilling life. Her success isn't measured by traditional standards. She doesn't have a network of people praising her accomplishments or partner sharing in her victories. Instead, her success is deeply personal. It's in the quiet moments of triumph, the battles fought and won within herself. Her happiness comes not from others, but from the peace she has cultivated within. She has learned to find joy in the simplest of things. A morning walk, a good book, the stillness of the night. Her life is not dictated by the rush to achieve or the pressure to please. She lives intentionally finding contentment in the present moment. Her journey is a reminder that happiness doesn't have to be loud. It can be found in the quiet too. Her path challenges the societal narrative that success and happiness must look a certain way. She doesn't fit into the mold of what others expect, and she's okay with that. Her life is a testament to the idea that fulfillment comes in many forms and no one way is better than another. This isn't to say she doesn't have dreams or aspirations. She does, but they are her own. She pursues them not for the approval of others, but because they bring her joy. Her journey is a reminder to follow our passions, even if they lead us down a less traveled road. Every story inspires us to look inward and ask ourselves what truly makes us happy. She shows us that success isn't about meeting society's expectations, but about living authentically. Her happiness is her own, and that's what makes it so powerful. Resilience is at the heart of her story. Every step she takes is a testament to her ability to keep moving forward. No matter what life throws at her, she doesn't rely on others to pick her up when she falls. She has learned to rise on her own. Here, resilience isn't loud or showy. It's in the quiet determination to face each day, to keep going even when the path feels endless. She doesn't seek recognition for her strength. She simply lives it. Her journey is a reminder that resilience is not about never falling. It's about always getting back up. She has faced countless challenges, from heartbreak to loneliness to the weight of societal judgment. Yet she refuses to let these struggles define her. Each obstacle is an opportunity to grow, to become stronger and more self-assured. Her resilience is a quiet rebellion against the difficulties of life. Through her solitude, she has learned to rely on her inner strengths. She doesn't have a safety net of friends or family to catch her when she stumbles, but instead of feeling abandoned, she sees this as an opportunity to prove her own capability. Her resilience is a source of pride. Your story reminds us that resilience is not a trait we're born with. It's a skill we develop through experience. She shows us that even in the face of adversity, we have the power to endure and thrive. Each journey inspires us to find our own strength and keep moving forward. In her resilience, we see the quiet power of the human spirit. She reminds us that no matter how difficult the road may seem, we are capable of walking it. And in doing so, we find not just strength, but also a deeper understanding of ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, in her solitary journey, this woman teaches us lessons that ripple far beyond her steps. She shows us the beauty of resilience, the strength of vulnerability, and the courage to walk a path misunderstood by many. Her solitude isn't a limitation. It's a testament to the human spirit's ability to thrive even in the quietest moments. Your story reminds us that life isn't measured by the number of people who walk beside us, but by the depth of our understanding of ourselves. And as she walks on, she invites us to reflect on our own paths, to embrace the solitude within, and to find strength in our vulnerability. For in her journey, we see not just a woman who walks alone, but a beacon of courage lighting the way for us.